Some of the best weapons in the game right now are solo weapons, and on Titans there's an exotic that gives them the maximum damage increase. Do you think you know what it is and how it works? Well, let's find out. In my previous video, I spoke about trying out Sunshot for the first time since the buff came out in the game. Honestly, I felt like there was something missing with that one, so since this week is Titan week and that's my favorite class, I decided to take on that challenge again to find a better build for the Sunshot, and yeah, I definitely found something. We'll get right into things with the exotic for this build, the Path of the Burning Steps. A lot of people already use this in PvP because that's where it shines, but in PvE it's more than amazing, and I'm going to break down why. To fully understand it, let's talk about the way that damage works in D2. To increase the base damage of a weapon, you have empowering buffs, which are things like empowering rifts and radiant. We have debuffs like weaken or scientific method from the tractor cannon. We have weapon perks like kill clip and firing line that increase the damage of just that weapon. And we also have armor perks like weapon surges that you put on the leg armor that increase your damage. The rule for stacking up all of this, because you obviously just can't use all of them at the same time, is you can only get one for each category. This is the reason why when you see people doing DPS, you see one person using Will of Radiance, somebody has a tractor cannon or divinity, they have a weapon with say bait and switch or firing line to do damage, and then they put on weapon surge mods on their leg armor to maximize the total damage that they can get. They just pick up one thing from each category so that all of them work at the same time. Now that we understand the sections of damage, let's talk about this exotic. With Path of the Burning Steps, it states Solar Final Blows periodically grants you an escalating bonus to weapon damage. Solar Grenade Final Blows grant the highest bonus. When Bungie says escalating damage, they're not joking. This buff is just the same as putting one weapon surge mod on your leg armor, and it can stack up to 4 times, increasing your weapon damage by 25%. For context, if you wanted to put 4 surge mods on your leg armor, it would normally be impossible because it would cost 12 energy and we only have 10. Plus, there's only 3 slots on your leg armor that can actually take this mod. So instantly, this exotic covers the armor mod category of increasing our damage just like that. Since we're on the solar subclass, we have access to Radiant, which gives 25% increase in damage. This is also the maximum damage increase you can get from empowering buffs, so we already have the best options for the first 2 categories. For our weapon perks, let's look into the kinds of weapons we're going to be using for this build. Since we were trying to use the Sunshot, it has an intrinsic explosive payload perk which increases the damage of every shot by 15%. If you want to save your exotic slot, or if you need to apply the debuff yourself, you can use the Zaldus Vein. This is a hand cannon from the King's Fall raid with explosive payload and incandescent. If you're looking to do this raid or any other raid in the game, I help and teach raids on my Twitch channel from Tuesday to Saturday each week. Feel free to stop by to learn, help, or just hang out anytime. Getting back to the weapon perks, I'm choosing Incandescent over Firefly here because it does damage to nearby enemies on final blows just like Firefly, but it also spreads Scorch, which will synergize really well with our build. Also, this way we can use Tractor Cannon as our debuff and we become a self-sufficient weapon damage maniac, having pretty much the best weapon damage increase sources in all categories of the game. Now we're going to set up the subclass to continue to maximize this build. Since our grenade kills get us to maximum stacks instantly, I use fusion nades as it does the most damage to a single target at once. Keep in mind though, you can just get multiple kills and get the Firewalker buff to max, so you can keep your options open on the grenade if you want to use something different. For aspects, we will use the usual suspects, Soul Invictus and Roaring Flames. Soul Invictus creates sunspots on solar ability final blows and defeating scorched targets, which again makes Zaldus Bane a very good option for this build, but let's stick with Sunshot for now. Entering a sunspot also applies restoration, which is consistent healing for about 5 seconds. I always try to have a healing component in all my builds because you need to be alive to even enjoy using the build. Roaring Flames increases your solar ability damage on solar ability final blows and enables a solar melee ability that works like a charged melee while the buff is active. Now that might seem confusing, so let me explain real quick. A charged melee ability usually has 2 things. It does more damage than a regular melee and activates mods like Heavy Handed, which requires charged melee kills to spawn orbs of power. While you have Roaring Flames, all your melees do additional damage and activate some mod perks. Moving on to the fragments now, I really wish Sunshot explosions and Firefly explosions counted as ignitions, but we don't always get what we want, so I have two versions for the fragments. If you're using Sunshot, I'll prioritize Radiant and Restoration and keeping that up at all times, so you're healing and doing more damage. Ember of Torches, Solace, Empyrean, and Benevolence will be the options here. Torches gives Radiant on powered melee attacks, which includes our Roaring Flames melee. Solace increases the base duration of our Radiant buff, while Empyrean refreshes the timer every time we get a solar kill. We're going to be doing this a lot since we're shooting all the time with our weapon, and it's going to be causing Scorch, explosions, all that stuff, so we should be covered there. Benevolence increases the regeneration speed of all our abilities. While we have this buff active, grenade, melee, and class ability energy recharges quicker. If you're using Zali's Bane, just switch Benevolence for Ember of Ashes to increase the scorch stacks you apply to nearby targets. When it comes to stats, we're keeping it simple with our focus on resilience, recovery for survivability, and then discipline for that grenade for max stats of Firewalker. I have the mods I use on the screen right now for my screenshot gang, #screenshots in the comments, and for those who use Destiny Item Manager, I have a link in the description, #BIM. Come on, support your crew. My mod choices are based on the fact that we prioritize weapon kills. So on the helmet, I've got a Siphon mod to create orbs and multi-kills, which will happen a lot with this build. And on the gauntlets, I have grenade and melee kickstart to instantly get half of those charged back up once I use those abilities. Since we don't need surge mods on our legs, we can use whatever we want here. So I use stacks on the legs to get more armor charges per orb pickup. And then I use Innervation and Invigoration to gain ability energy on orb pickup as well. At the end of the day, we're going to be doing a lot of weapon kills, but it's not a bad idea to just make sure that in the background our grenade and melee are charging up at the same time. Lastly, you got to get that drip right. Make sure that swag is busting. And if you're more of a hunter or warlock main, check out these videos cause I got something for you as well. See you on the next one. Kò ní bàjẹ́ àwọn pàdé mi.